Have you ever felt like there's something more to life than what you're currently doing?
Do you see the world differently than everyone around you?
Do you ever dream of achieving big things but feel stuck? We're Tiffany and Sid, and we are the Cycle Breakers.
Not long ago, no one believed in us.
The people closest to me said I'd make a great receptionist.
And mine completely abandoned me and left my life.
We started our journey 5 years ago in a basement.
Now, we live our dream life in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. But how did we get here?
We saw a life that was much better than the one we were living.
And broke through the blocks that hold most people back.
Like self-sabotage, crippling self-doubt, and the fear of rejection. But we knew we were made for more, so we bet on ourselves to make the life that we wanted.
And jumped into a life dedicated to breaking old cycles and patterns.
And now we live on 97 acres in the Smoky Mountains. We travel the world speaking on stages, and we help a small army of people break their cycles as well.
We're the Cycle Breakers, and we break through blocks that are holding most people back so we can go live our dream life.
Welcome to the Cycle Breakers Show. Welcome back to the Cycle Breakers Show. I am super excited to be joined by my good friend and fellow Canadian, Jason Portnoy, today. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Good to have another Canadian on the show every once in a while.
Yeah. What's all this show about? No, I'm just kidding. I don't really talk to them.
Yeah. Eh? So
I do say A a lot, but yeah.
See, I say hey more than A, but maybe that's just the cycle I broke.
You've been gone too long. You've been gone too long.
That's true. I have been. All right. So tell us a little bit about you, what you do, what your life is like, and then we'll get into the cycle breaking piece.
So first and foremost, I'm a dad of three amazing kids, Ryan, Chloe, and Noah. I'm a husband. And then I'm a business owner. So I own an agency that's paid ads and retention marketing. And our job is think of us as a modern day ad agency, but just online. So we come up with strategy and then how to execute and then deploy the media buying wherever we see fit. And then around things were going really, really great with that. And then around a couple of years ago, we went on our first family vacation and I was sitting there and things were great, but I was still anxious about the business and stress. And I always felt I had to be attached. It was my first time really completely detaching from the business. And I remember we were sitting at the beach and watching my kids, there were characters there and watching my kids' faces light up. And I was like, this could have cost $100,000 this trip and it would have been worth every cent watching this. This is incredible. And at that time I launched a program, a mastermind, a group coaching program called Market Domination Method, which was how to dominate your market, how to become the best in your market. Very, very alpha. And I remember after that moment, it was our second to last day. I went to go, if you've ever been to a resort, you have to go wake up early, put your towel down on a chair and secure your chair by the pool. Otherwise you have no chance. So my wife sent me, and I remember I got up a little bit earlier and I was watching the sunrise and I went live inside the group and it was just completely impulsive. And I went live in the group saying, we're changing everything because this is no longer about dominating your market. This is about how do you create a business and the life you want? Because the things I'm creating towards are going to hurt the things I actually really want. And I started realizing I have non-negotiables. I have things I'm not prepared to sacrifice. I have things that matter to me. And I got to build a business around my life, not my life around my business, not how do we plan everything around my business. No, it's how do we plan my business around my life. And we switched it, rebranded it. It's called Amplify Consulting and Training because Amplify is really about amplifying where you're at and not a matter of just taking you from 0 to 60 really fast. And the mission with that is, make better businesses and humans. So we have our 4M method, which is mind, marketing, money, moments. And I believe that if you could get a business owner thinking properly and reduce that stress and anxiety and build a better business, then they could become a better human by being more free to be a better spouse, a better partner, a better friend, a better parent, a better son, whatever it is. And that's where my passion is right now. So I have those two businesses and I have 3 little kids. So my hands are pretty full right now.
Very full, especially since one is under one. One is very new to this world still.
Almost 6. One's going to be 4 this month and a 10-month-old. Yeah. So we're in the weeds.
So I love that you had that realization watching the sunrise, because I remember back 2018 when I restarted my business, and I was back in North America. Australian culture around entrepreneurship is a little bit different, but I got back to America, North America, and it was this huge like celebration of who could work on Christmas Day and who could work on Thanksgiving. And I remember thinking, like, is that really why you like started a business, so that you could, like, these days that are supposed to be holidays, public holidays, right? Like, I started a business so that I could take more non-public holiday days off. But now I'm a bad entrepreneur if I do that. And the tide's really shifting, which I love. And we're seeing, a lot of the big players in the game who used to talk about the hustle being like, yeah, no, that's not so cool anymore. So why do you think that kind of societal cycle is being broken now?
I
Or
think
why
a
was
lot
it
of the people, maybe this is me guessing here, but maybe a lot of those people who, when they started in the hustle, their life changed. Maybe they got married, maybe they had kids, maybe priorities changed, and that's normal and that's okay. And so when they're the leaders now with the followers and they're switching, well, then guess what? All the people following, they all want to switch their reasons on why they do things as well. So I think just as you get to certain stages, look, if I was 20 years old, would I be talking about work-life balance and all that? Maybe not. And I don't even think there's such thing as work-life balance, but maybe I'd be more heavily leaned towards work than I would anything else, because I got the time. Why not? Let me just hustle. Let me grind. Let me do whatever I want. It's fun. I could stay up till 3 a.m. and I could wake up at 7 a.m. and be totally okay. Now like I go to bed at 9, like I'm in bed at 9 and I wake up at 5 or 6 and I'm like my whole life completely changed. So even if I wanted to be that hustle and stay out late and grind it out, my body would kill me. Like it would shut down. I'm over 40 now, so it's like so I think maybe that's part of the reason. I also think there's this now. I think since COVID happened, a lot of people now figured out, hey, I don't want to sit in traffic for 5 hours. I like working from home. Oh, I'm home. I get to see my kids more, or I get to hang out with my friends more because they were off work and they were working virtual. So they got exposed to something that only entrepreneurs before that were exposed to. Only the people who built a business for the right reasons and like, hey, I get to have the freedom to do what I want. Like I remember I'd go for lunch with my wife in the middle of a work day, and my friend was like, how do you do that? But now, like when COVID was off, he's like, okay, I'm going for a walk at 11 a.m. Like no one's checking in on me. I'm going to go for a walk. So all these things started to play a role where people started saying, oh, life is better if I do this. And I don't need to work that like, and I don't need to like grind it all out. I don't need wear and tear. I could actually have a little bit of both. So I think probably a combination of people just getting older and wiser. And I think being exposed through COVID to certain possibilities they didn't even know existed before that.
So when it comes to, you said that you used to be super attached to the business. How would you say, and I kind of want to specifically touch on the mental health piece in this, how has your life changed since you realized like, oh, I'm building a business so I can live the life that I want, not living my life around my business? How are things different and better now? Or are they better?
It's a good question. I think I'm more at peace with a lot of decisions. I think I'm not as in a rush to get to some sort of destination. I think a lot of times when I went through the exercise of changing all that, I realized that most of the goals that I had kind of already hit. So when you have these goals and you don't even realize you hit them yet because you're so busy inside your business, that's how you get the stuck and anxiety part going, because you're like, hey, I'm working towards something. What are you working towards? I don't know. Or I could already have it, but I don't even realize I could already have it. But when you take that step back and you realize you hit it, a couple of things happen. One is you realize, wow, life is really good. Like I'm blessed. Like things are good. So you become a little bit more grateful. And then two is you start realizing, wow, I could start thinking bigger. Let me expand my goals. Now let me recalibrate. Let me do all those things. So I think it forced me to probably, one, be a little bit more grateful for the things I have right now, and then two, recalibrate from where I'm at to where I want to be and actually have a destination. Because most of the people who are stuck in that bit, the business, the life around their business part, if they're still in that moment, they don't have a destination. They don't know what they really want. And so they stay stuck in that moment. So I think those two things were probably the biggest game changers for me.
Okay. And as you were going through that process of breaking that cycle, what was the biggest challenge that you experienced that you had to navigate?
Uh, Learning to think. I think changing your beliefs and the way you think about things is really, really, really hard. Where you know this more than anyone, because you talk about this a lot, is we're hardwired a lot for in our biology a lot for a lot of things. And I've spent 40 plus years on a belief system that maybe doesn't even serve me properly. So I think the hardest part is knowing that, like, okay, I have this other belief, it makes sense, but how do I replace it? How do I figure out what belief serves me properly? How do I actually think about what I want? And I know that sounds so basic, but that's probably the hardest part for me. And I work with entrepreneurs right now, and we go through that same process. It's the hardest part for them too, because they come back to me and they're like, "Yeah, I thought about it. Here's what I want." I'm like, "You spent like 10 minutes on that. There's no way you actually really thought about what you want." And so I think critical thinking and actually sitting and having your own thoughts and mapping out where you want to be and having those goals, that that was a really hard piece for me. I don't know if it's hard for everyone. The people I speak to, they really struggle with that. But changing my beliefs, finding new beliefs, finding beliefs that serve me, switching my perspective on things, thinking the way I think about things. I mean, it's like reinventing a whole new, like, operating system.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge for people to really think about what they want. And I know that this was a cycle that both Sid and I had to break as well, because especially as entrepreneurs, or even from a society level, right? There's like a checklist of what you should do. Like,
Hmm.
you should be married by this time. If you're an entrepreneur, you should want the car, you should want the seven-figure business. And I remember just after COVID, Sid and I were going through this process of like, okay, what do we really want, just before we got pregnant? And I was like, we've been chasing this seven-figure number, but like, why that number? Like, why does that matter to us? What does that get us that, say, $500,000 a year doesn't get us? And we're like, we're chasing that number because in the online entrepreneurial world, that's how you've made it, right?
It's
And
like
so,
been in Forbes magazine and seven figures. Like, if you could put those things next to you, like, you're in the online space, you've made it.
yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I think people, they have this like societal checklist that's been so hardwired that they automatically go, okay, well, that's the next thing. And they don't actually sit and think like, what do I actually want for me?
I
So
agree.
as you were going through that phase of shifting your perspective, did you find that there was any like shame or judgment for yourself for having had the quote unquote wrong beliefs for so long?
No, just I think the guilt on myself is like, I wish I would have known this 10 years ago. I wish I would have focused on this 10 years ago. I was always the person that dismissed the mindset part. I was always the person like, let's just get to the tactical, get to the practical. Okay, I understand the mindset. Woo, whatever. I don't care. Let's go. I don't need to know why. More is my why. My family's my why. Cool, we got it. Now let's move. And then once I started like really understanding it, and you know, I started going down a little bit rabbit hole of quantum and understanding all that, started realizing, man, this is like the cheat code that I wish I paid attention to. I wish I listened to every single person that tried to talk mindset to me. And there's a confidence level that comes from there. And I think, you want to talk about transformations. I thought I was like confident as a business owner and whatnot, but like this made me more confident, because when you're sure about a destination you want to get to, you have more conviction. More conviction equals more confidence, more certainty in how you do things and how you move. So I needed to fix all that, but no real shame. I think I've just been in this space long enough that like other people's opinions and things like that don't really get to me. It's just more internally like, man, let's go back 10 years and pay attention. But here we are.
That's right. We have to, I ask that because I hear from a lot of people, like whether it's guilt or shame or this self-judgment, like I've wasted so much time. And the journey is really about realizing like no time is wasted. There was a lesson learned, in that phase of the quote unquote wrong thinking that allowed you to get to where you're at now.
Yeah, someone once told me if you could delete your past, right? If you want to delete your past to get to like, then you have to delete everything you have right now. Because everything you have right now is a byproduct of the past. So all the good, all the bad, everything like that. If you want to delete the past, you lose everything you have right now. And then when you think about that, most people don't really want to delete the past. You may want to change and tweak certain things, but they don't really want to redo it all.
Yeah, I was saying that to a friend with my mom brain that I've really noticed, I'm like, I wish I could do things like I used to do them. And they're like, yeah, but then you wouldn't have like all this wisdom and knowledge that you've gained in that time. And I'm like, you're right. So if I could do that with all the wisdom and knowledge, that would be amazing.
Yes. Yes.
So as a dad who family is important to you, what if you had to share a message with other dads out there who are, trying to create that life, they're trying to get the more, establish themselves, but they still want that time for the family. What would be the biggest lesson or message that you would want to share with them?
Have your non-negotiables and stick to it. Right. Like, I read through, I have my morning routine that I go through. And like one of the things that I always talk about is that I try, and I'm human, so I'm guilty of breaking this at times, but I try to remind myself that when I'm with my family, they need to get all of me. Now, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes I come home and I don't close up work properly, and I come up from the office and I'm sitting with them and I'm on my phone. My wife will remind me, "You're on your phone." I'm like, "Okay, cool." It's just because I didn't mentally wrap up before I left. But you make a list and being like, "Okay, here's everything I want. Here's everything I'm not willing to give up." Because there's a cost to everything you want. And then you circle those non-negotiables, and some of the things you want violate that. But if you have non-negotiables that can't violate, you got to cross those off your list. And then that's how I did it. So if I want to be there at every opportunity that I can to be around my kids and be at their events, and sure, if I'm at an event and I may miss one, but like standard things, I want to be at almost every school thing. I want to be at every game. I want to be 99% of the way there. Well, then I say no to things. It gives me a list to say no to. I think as entrepreneurs, when we're starting off and dads or whatever it is, we're starting off, we have this like, I got to say yes, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. But then don't say that you want this as well. You got to pick what's the important part to you and what's the non-negotiable. And then live your life based off that. Everything sounds so easy. Duh, like, yeah, pick your non-negotiables. But it's really, really hard to implement because you're going to see they violate each other a lot. And most of what you do violates your non-negotiables, which is why you're so confused and you're so stuck in the process of like, how do I build my business and my family? How do I do all this? I'm so confused. How do I do this? Is because you keep bouncing around between non-negotiables and what you want. And this is what I want, but this violates what I don't want. And it just conflicts. But when you have that broken down, like I said, you have a map. You plug in a destination on GPS, you don't really get lost. You make a wrong turn, but it recalibrates and sends you back the right way. But if you don't have a destination on that GPS, then you just keep trying to figure it out on your own and going around in circles.
I think, a lot of people do think about what they want, but very few people stop and think about what will it take for me to get this? And then the other side that you said of what am I not willing to give up? Like, what are the things that I'm not willing to compromise on, that I'm not willing to do and don't do? Right.
Non-negotiables, and what am I willing, like, so it's what you want and what are you willing to pay to get there, and what are you not willing to give up? Those three things have to be thought out together.
And I don't think very many people think about those things. So I think that's a really great point
I don't think
because
many people think, period, but yeah,
that's true as well.
we could have stopped at just think, but yeah.
Yeah. But people, one of the things, like I said, when we were chasing the seven figures, we never actually stopped to think like, what is it going to take for us to get there? Or, what will this mean work wise? And I think this is how a lot of entrepreneurs also get caught in the freelancer trap where they're just hustling more and more because they don't think about, what could I implement? What systems could I bring in? What mentor could I hire to coach me? And they just start running towards the goal without any thought of like, there's a better way to do this, or there's
Yeah,
things that
and
I could use to make it easier.
there's a better way to do it, and I haven't recalibrated. It goes back to what I said before. I haven't recalibrated. So you said when you were traveling and building businesses and chasing seven figures, well, guess what? Now you became a parents in the process. That changes everything from when you were, just starting off and running with it. But if the goals didn't change, but your whole life has to change around it, well, then you have problems, right? That's where it conflicts. That's where you're chasing the wrong goals and you don't even know you're chasing the wrong goals anymore because you're living a completely different life than you were, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was. You're living a different life. My eldest is going to be 6. Very different. Like my restrictions, and I say that in a positive way, not a negative. My restrictions in life are way different now than they were 7 years ago. I got married almost 10 years ago. My restrictions change, like I'm on different chapters of my book. And if I'm just like playing around and I don't realize that, well, that's when you just ruin everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that it's important to look at that. And what's important, right? For us, when we had Chad, it was we want, the homeschool life is what we want because we want the flexibility to still go to conferences. And we want him, to get comfortable in environments where he's networking. Like I had such bad social anxiety, even when I met Sid, that I hated going to conferences and events because I would have to rehearse the scripts in my head of like, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is the questions I'm going to ask people because it wasn't normal for me. And so, if you are having kids, I think it's important
So
to
funny. I
consider.
would never have known that. I met you at an event. The first time I met you was at an event, and I would never been able to guess that. But yeah, go on. You hit
I
it well.
I'm good, good. Well, I think by the time I had met you, it was mostly gone. But
Good.
yeah. But I think the other question is like, what do we want to normalize for our kid? That was a massive question that we had to look at in terms of our own cycle breaking. What was normal for us growing up versus what do we want to be normal? We want exercise because we love our body, not dieting because we hate our body and we want to lose weight to be
Such an
normal.
amazing perspective. I like just saying that. Listen to you say that. That's amazing. Amazing way
Yeah.
to view it.
Time outside, like we want that nature time to be normal. So it was super easy to leave Texas and move to Eastern Tennessee and be on land and not in the middle of a crazy busy city anymore, right? Because that's what we wanted to normalize. So I think that's another really important question as people are going through this. What do I want to normalize for myself, for my kids, for my family, etc.?
Yeah, I think what you want. When I ask people what they want, they tell me the same thing. Oh, I wanted to be doing 7 figures. I want a business. Blah blah blah. Blah. I'm like, whoa, 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 stop. And say, what type of business do you want? What do you want? I haven't really thought. I know I don't want to be unemployed. I'm like, no, you're naming things you don't want now. Like, what do you want? And when you start listing all those things out, well, guess what? That's what you're reaching towards, not the business wants. Because if you build it around the business wants, again, you're going to violate your life wants on a lot of things. And when you do that, you get burnt out, you get anxious, you get upset, you want to burn the whole business to the ground, and which every entrepreneur who's ever had a business goes through that period. But when you have the life, what do you want? Well, then we reverse engineer. Okay, well, what type of business gives you that? Oh, well, this type of business, I could run it this way. I could do that. Oh, I build a team that, you see what I mean? You start plugging the pieces because you have the end result. It's like trying to color in, like my kids have coloring books. Imagine I just gave them blank paper and said, color in Iron Man. He'd be like, I don't see Iron Man.
Yeah.
But when I give him the outline, he could color it in. He knows exactly what colors go where. He knows. But if I just give him a blank piece of paper, he'd probably just like start mixing up colors. It would look weird, unless I have like this really prodigy of an artist as a kid, which I don't. Um, but you know what I mean? Like once you have the outline of what you want, everything just plugs in a little bit. Now, sure, things break, things change. It's not as perfect as it is. But then guess what? You recalibrate. When you wake up every morning and you know exactly what you want, but something doesn't feel right anymore, you don't just stick to it, you switch it. We have that ability. That's one of the first things I learned about from you, is that we have the ability to change anything we want in our life.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people end up hiring the wrong mentors. I know we had this challenge. We hired the wrong mentors because we were focused on the business goals and not the life goals. So we went after the people who had the business goals but didn't have the life. Right. And so then we created a business that burnt us out and that, wasn't in alignment with where we wanted to go with the non-negotiables, like you said, because people can only teach what they know or what they've done. So I love that you've made the shift and now you're showing other people how to do it as well.
Yeah. And look, there's nothing wrong with it. If I'm not the right fit for a lot of people, if you're like, hey, I don't care about any of that, I just want to go 24/7, I'm probably not the right fit for you to work with. Like, maybe hire our agency and our team could implement that, but like, I mean, I'm not the right person for you. So, um, and I think you learn that by, like you said, I've had so many bad mentors, but I started switching that perspective of like those bad mentors showed me what a good mentor is.
Yeah,
So if I didn't go through it, I'd still be, I don't know, trying to figure it out and guess. But even the bad ones, I've learned something that brought me to a different stage to realize something else that gave me the ability to do all that. So yeah, I think it's just, it's seasons in life, seasons in business, what season you're in, and who's the best fit that could guide you through where you want to be and what you're looking for.
absolutely. So if there is one message that you wanted to leave people with today, what would it be?
Be a better human. I know it's so vague, but I mean, like, just you can't turn on the news or look at anything and see without seeing just how bad people are. Like, just there's evil in this world, and I think it doesn't have to be that you're a giant terrorist and don't be a terrorist, but I think we could bring it back to our lives of just being like, hey, look, we're seeing. Sorry for I may go off topic here, but we're seeing people. It's clear they have no value system. It's clear parents are failing their kids, whether they're more present in their business or they're afraid of being canceled by their kids, whatever it is. We're seeing this giant lack of values, and it doesn't mean you have to be like this perfect family and this like conservative family. It doesn't mean you have to be that type of person, but we're seeing the breakdown of a family. We're seeing the breakdown of a value system. We're seeing the breakdown of all that. And I really think part of it was because we had that whole hustle culture. We had that whole thing of you have to go, go, go. I got to be away. I can't raise my kids. I got to be building the business. And I think if you could figure out the business that kind of works for you, that frees you up so you could be a more present parent, so you could raise your kids, so you can instill values in them. That's how you create better humans. That's how you become a better human. That's how you do all those things. So, um, big mission of mine is create better businesses and humans. Um, but I think if I was going to leave one message, is don't sacrifice the things that matter most. Like, and if you have a family, like you have a big responsibility to raise that family, to be good people.
I love it. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining me today. You have a book, which we'll link up in the show notes. Where else can people connect with you?
jportnoy.com has kind of everything there. You can connect with me on social media at Jason Portnoy, pretty accessible, but yeah, say hi.
Beautiful. Well, we'll link it all up in the show notes. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Cycle Breakers. This channel is dedicated to giving you the tools that you need to clear out the blocks holding you back so you can live the life that you desire. Now, before you go, as our special gift to you, we have our 7-day nervous system reset. These are the exact exercises that I give all of our clients in every single one of our programs to help them regulate their nervous system, to make that inner work and clearing out those mental blocks so much easier. The best part, it's absolutely free. Just click on the link in the description below and you'll get instant access.